welcome to the Veronica Harris Show. I'm your host, Veronica Harris, and I have with me today
your brother, the Inquisitor.
the Grand Inquisitor.
I'll probably be quizzing you today,
You
Veronica.
quizzing me?
Yeah.
I'm not. You're not supposed to quiz me. I'm supposed to quiz you.
What?
I quiz you.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
the
quiz me
oldest.
then. I'm ready.
All right. Well, we won't do that just yet. We have other things to take care of first of all.
Okay.
So today we have with us Miss Cheryl Sloan, who's the current president of the Deanwood Tennis Association. She is also the president of META, which stands for the Mid-Eastern Tennis Association, also known as META, M-E-T-A.
Right.
Okay, which is also a section of the ATA, which is the American Tennis Association. So with all those alphabets in that alphabet soup, if in case you didn't know what we're talking about tennis today. Gregory, you know anything about tennis?
I know you can go pro at a very young age.
That is true.
Yeah, so I'm got to get my daughter involved ASAP.
All right. Well, Ms. Sloan is here to tell us about the American Tennis Association and why we should know about it, the importance of it. So, Ms. Sloan, please, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Veronica Harris Show. And so we want to know more about the American Tennis Association because from my understanding, after reading the information about it, really if it wasn't for the American Tennis Association, we would have no Althea Gibson. We would have no Arthur Ashe, no Zena Garrison. And I know you mentioned some other African-American tennis players that I don't know about, but you were definitely telling me about. And if it wasn't for them, we would not have who we have today, which is
the
Williams sisters.
Yes.
That many of us know. There's other African Americans like Sloan Stevens. I mean, she's coming up. Madison Keys is another one. But the Williams sisters is who we know the most.
Right.
So please tell us about the American Tennis Association.
Well, the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland area is really very rich in the history of the ATA because that's where the ATA was founded in 1916. So the American Tennis Association is celebrating its 100th anniversary and is the oldest African-American sports organization in the United States.
Wow, did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
All right, keep it up. We have a quiz afterwards.
But the American Tennis Association got its founding from a group of black professionals from the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area because at that time, blacks could not play tennis with whites. Blacks could not belong to the USTA, then called the United States Tennis and Lawn Association. So because of that, they got together and formed the ATA. And for 100 years now, this organization has had an annual championship for juniors and for adults. And it all started here in this metropolitan area.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And hold on before you go.
Okay.
But usually it's so amazing, and I'm glad you mentioned that because you said we started because blacks were not allowed to.
Right.
We could not play with. We weren't allowed to compete with. And so many things that we have today, or like award ceremonies, different athletic organizations, is because we were not allowed. So when people get upset at us and say, well, why would you boycott that? Or why must we have the BET awards? Or why must we have this such and such awards for black? Why must we separate ourselves? Well, because they wouldn't let us in. So you know what, if they're not gonna let you do something, you're gonna go ahead and get your own, right? I would.
Right.
I'm not gonna sit continue to like let me in. No,
Right.
go ahead and get my own. Take my ball home and play. Take my ball and go play somewhere else. Now, what you gonna say?
When did you say they didn't allow us? What year was that?
Well, the organization was formed in 1916. And until you saw Althea Gibson break through, she was the first African American to break through in tennis. And that was in the 50s.
Okay.
Okay, now in Washington, D.C., now you said the ATA, the American Tennis Association, was formed because we were not allowed to play or compete against white people.
Right.
Or white athletes, tennis players.
Right.
So, but where were we allowed to play? Because accordingly, I was reading that we weren't allowed to play just anywhere. Like they wouldn't let us play on all the courts. Like there was only a certain court that we were allowed to play at. And I believe it was in Georgetown.
Georgetown at Rose Park, the Peters sisters played there. They lived right around the corner from Rose Park, which, by the way, in October of 2015, Rose Park was dedicated to the Peters sisters.
Okay.
both phenomenal in women's doubles, and so much so that they were called Pete and Repeat.
Okay, and what were their names, the Peters sisters?
Romania and Matilda
Okay.
Peters.
And they played up until the age of, do we know?
Not sure up until what age, but they were responsible even after they stopped competitively playing for teaching a lot of young kids how to play tennis. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I just want to go back and sort of touch on again, because when I'm in school, when my teachers, we have me write papers and everything, and we say, well, what's the point? My teacher would always say, what's the so what? So what? Why do I need to care? Why should I pay attention to what it is you're telling me? Why do we need to pay attention to the American Tennis Association? I know I touched on it and I said it's because without that, we would not have Althea Gibson, but you gave me a very good answer prior to us coming on air. What's the big so what? Why?
Well, the big so what is simply because without the American Tennis Association, you would not have had the foundation for an Althea Gibson, an Arthur Ashe, a Zena Garrison, her doubles partner, Lori McNeil, Katrina Farmer. Katrina Farmer is now the president of the USTA.
Oh, really?
So there, you have to look at people's beginnings and their histories to really get a real good sense of where they've come from and who has supported them. And in the back in the day when the ATA was in, let's say, its heyday, how it progressed was they would play at historically black colleges and universities. And they would come into town and stay sometimes on the campuses or with friends, and would have their competitions there at HBCUs. I believe Oberlin is one of the universities where many matches were played.
I've heard of that school, Oberlin College.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, yeah, I've heard about that. You were talking about the Repeat sisters, Pete and Repeat?
Yes.
And
The Peters sisters.
The Peters
Yes.
sisters. Okay, so they played at Rose
Park in
Rose Park.
Georgetown.
Rose Park. So they played at Rose Park. Okay. Now there's another very famous park that we need to talk about. It's located in Baltimore. Could you tell us about that park?
Druid Hill Park has fame and is related to tennis simply because back in 1948, that's where courts were integrated. Black and white players got together on the clay courts there at Druid Hill and played tennis. And of course, they got arrested.
Prior to the integration, I would say. Or even after the integration?
Well,
that's what started the integration.
That's what started
Okay.
it. That's what started it. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And this took place in 1948.
1948.
Wow,
yes,
interesting.
Yes. And Baltimore celebrated that. The Department of Parks and Recreation in Baltimore and the Druid Hill Association celebrated that back in 2009.
Oh, okay, excellent, awesome. Now there was something you wanted to ask about the ATA.
Yeah, just, with the sport of tennis, typically what age do you see, children getting involved in
In the game?
Yeah, in the game, and what kind of programs should I start off? I have an 8-year-old daughter that I want to get involved, and what kind of programs could I start her out in?
You want to get her involved in everything. You talk about golf, tennis, track. I mean, pick one.
Well, you can have her play a lot of different sports and then let her gravitate to what she really likes. And hopefully it will be tennis. But she's 8, she's not too young to get started, absolutely. When we have the championships, and that will take place the first week in August.
Yes, tell us about the championships.
At Fort Lauderdale. Not only is the American Tennis Association, was it founded 100 years ago, but in 2017, the championships will celebrate their 100th anniversary as well. And so we've got junior championships and we've got adult championships, and we've got youngsters out there, 10 that do play. So you're not starting your daughter off too young at all. I like to think that when there's competition at the ATA championships, it's from 8 to 80.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome.
I've got another question.
Oh boy.
Is it an expensive sport to get? I know golf is kind of expensive. I thought about it, but it was like, it's kind of expensive to get course time and the equipment. What about tennis? Is it expensive?
Tennis does have some priciness because you got tennis shoes that you're going to purchase just for that particular sport, you got a racket. You've got to have that racket strung. You've got tennis balls. And then you've got lessons that you have to have, because tennis looks easy. It's not as easy as it looks. And it takes lots of time, lots of repetition. And if you're really going to, if you really want her to get exposed, you're going to have her in some courses. Those courses are going to cost.
What kind of courses? You said courses? What do you mean by courses?
Sure. Well, she's going to learn ground strokes. She's going to learn the forehand, the backhand. She's going to learn how to prepare for each stroke. And she's going to learn how to serve. She's going to learn eventually how to volley. She's going to learn net work, you know, what happens at the net, how you hit the ball to effectively take away a shot at the net. There's lots that she has to learn.
There's a lot more to it than I thought.
All right, okay, now we're getting deeper into it now. So let me ask you this. So football, you got to deal with the CTE,
Right.
you know, the head trauma. Basketball, you're typically going to need you're going to tear your MCL. You're going to have to get a knee surgery or two. Well, what kind of injuries am I looking at if I get her playing in tennis? What kind of doctor bills I'm looking at?
Well, hopefully not very many doctor bills at all, but people do develop tennis elbow. Somebody who's my age who's
That's
been
kind of like
playing,
a carpal tunnel thing. You just
well,
That's from repetitive motion.
it's yes,
That's from
and
repetitive
sometimes an incorrect motion. So it could be tennis elbow. Somebody who is at my age will have problems with their knees, and so I would tend to want to play on clay more than I would hard surface. You may have some ankle injuries, but that's really not what tennis is all about. Tennis is all about a game of sport that you can play for a lifetime.
So it's also like considered a leisure time sport, maybe?
You could, yes. And when I played as an adult, and I played in league tennis. And so I was on a women's team. That's how I joined Deanwood. Was on a women's team, and we competed every Saturday down at Haynes Point. And
We know Haynes Point.
competed there. And 1991, we were successful enough to go to the sectionals and compete. We didn't win, but it was a great experience for us when we went to Virginia Beach to compete.
Now you mentioned league, you said league or you said team tennis. We have the WTT, which is the World Team Tennis.
Right.
Okay, and we actually have a team here in Washington called the Washington Castles.
Yes.
And I believe Venus and Serena are a part of that team
Yes,
when they have time.
Yes, they are. Now that's a different kind of tennis because it's for fun, okay? And it's to get more fans involved and have a lot of fun. Have you ever been to a game?
No, but I have seen it on TV.
Okay. And you know that they have music
Yes.
and their cheers and they have signs, and so there's lots of fun. Some of the rules are a little bit different, but yes, the World Team Tennis team here, the Washington Castles, have successfully been champions for 5 times now.
now to play tennis, the taller the better.
Oh, I think, you know, there's very definitely some advantages, but then there are some players. Do you remember Michael Chang?
Yes, he won the French Open.
Yeah, well, Michael Chang was not one of the tallest players,
He was quick.
but he was quick and he was successful. Yes.
See, Veronica, you probably was built for tennis. Why didn't you play?
Well, because I did take some tennis lessons, but track for me just became, the track was my thing. I ran into track. You know when I ran into track running? No, but track was just my thing. No, but I love to watch it. And I can honestly tell you the first time I learned how to score tennis was I was a junior in Sweden. Remember that year I lived in Sweden as an exchange student. And the U.S. Open, it was Ivan Lendl versus Mats Wilander in the finals. And it came on at and the reason why it was on so late, because usually at that time, Swedish television went off at midnight. But because Mats Wilander was a Swede,
Yes.
it stayed on way past the regular time. And I remember I sat up in the living room, and because it was very few TV shows that were in English for me, or that I could, understand, or they would have like English with the Swedish people, maybe.
Yes.
Would you for me? Okay. So anyway.
Subtitles.
Right. So I watched the whole 5-set match.
Okay.
And I forget I don't know if it was Ivan. I think it was Ivan because I was cheering for Ivan. And But that's how I learned how to keep
How to score, yes.
I'll never forget
Yes.
that. I said, oh, I was so tired the next day.
That's something else your daughter has to learn, how to keep score.
Because it's different.
Yes.
Because you hear that love and that 15, 30, 40, and then people like, what? Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty decent in table tennis. Does that mean I'm be good in tennis?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. You might take from table tennis the eye-hand coordination, because that takes a lot of eye-hand coordination, because you got to follow the ball and you got to move your feet.
Keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball.
Absolutely. So that's at least one attribute that you could take from table tennis is your eye-hand coordination. That would certainly help you.
Yeah, because I had no formal lessons, and I just, held my own on the table tennis. I said, I might go over to the court, see what I can do.
But you might be good because footwork is so important, and you have very good footwork on the basketball court.
I do.
And I know I always hear them talking about that, and they always talk about Serena. And they're like, when you hear the squeak, 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 squeak,
Yes.
that means that her footwork is very good. And they always talk about Roger Federer and how he seems to glide.
Oh, he does.
He glides
Effortlessly.
across the court. Effortlessly.
Yes.
Yes. And they always talk about the other, some of the other, like a Leighton Hewitt, they always talk about his wheels, like he was very fast around the court, and he was scoot. And they would always talk about Steffi Graf, how she used to run around the backhand.
Yes.
Because she's running around that backhand. So, I mean, to hear about the tennis, they were very athletic. You had to be a very good athlete to play, especially I would think on the men's side, because those 5 sets could be like
grueling.
Yes. I mean, cramp. You would see them cramp, and you would see, medical timeouts. I mean, it was just astounding.
Yeah, you play tennis in the heat.
Yes.
So that's something else you got to get used to and make sure
down in Melbourne.
Well,
I mean, in the Australian Open. I've been to Australia, so I know. Luckily, I didn't have to go in the summertime.
Okay.
But I mean, I hear when I was down there, we were going in wintertime, which is our summer, their winter. But to have to go in the summertime, I mean, it's absolutely brutal down there. It can be, rather.
Yeah, so it can get brutal around here, especially with the humidity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Any other questions you have?
Y'all play in the rain too, right?
No.
Oh, that's right. They stopped for rain. That's right. That's right.
Come on now.
Remember now, you want to be safe, so you don't want to be out there on a wet court.
That's right.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
Okay, well, that was a good segment. I liked all the information that we talked about, but we're going to take a break right now, and then when we come back, we're going to delve into a little bit more about the history. We definitely want to know more about the 100th year anniversary, some of the activities that may be going on, and a few more historical figures in the ATA. So you're going to stick with us?
Yes, thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back in a moment. Thank you.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
And we're back. All right, so we're going to jump right back into it because there's some more interesting people that we need to talk about. Ben Woods, he's a photographer, a tennis photographer, as well as a professional tennis photographer, as well as a tennis coach. And he has photographed over 100 Grand Slams. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Grand Slams are the biggies, the granddaddies. Those are the, the things that, like Tiger, how he has his...
It's like the Super Bowl?
Yeah, like the Super Bowl. It's like the NCAA, the finals, the
NBA
nationals,
finals?
the NBA finals. But we
Big
have
deal.
It's a big deal. But they have 4 of them.
Did 100 of them?
He did 100. But there's 4 of them in tennis. So it starts off with the Australian Open.
Yes.
That kicks off the year. Then we have the French Open. It moves on down to the Wimbledon Championships, or the Championships at Wimbledon, as they call it. And the final one is the U.S. Open, which we all love because it's USA.
Yes.
USA. Now, Mr. Ben Woods, he has photographed 100 of them.
Yes, he has. And he reached that milestone last year.
He did?
Yes,
okay.
he did.
And is he still is a working photographer, correct?
He's a working photographer. He's a local coach as well.
Here
Yes.
in the area?
Here in Maryland, yes.
Okay, do we know his team or?
He's a coach at one of the tennis bubbles in Maryland.
Okay, one of the tennis balls.
Yes.
All right, awesome. And so we definitely want to thank anyone who does. That's dedication.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, 100, because you're going from, Australia, then you're going to France, Paris. Paris is in France, but then you have England, and then you definitely have, back here to the United States. But you're definitely covering. I want those frequent flying
And he
miles.
did 100 of them, so he must be really, really good at it.
Obviously.
Yes.
Because you can't just be throwing out, ugly pictures either.
Right.
No. So definitely think about him, Mr. Ben Woods, and we definitely appreciate his work. So I'll make sure I'll be looking out for pictures and his little byline at the bottom.
Absolutely.
So also let's talk about more about you.
Okay.
Because we talked about everybody else. What more about you? So tell us, besides being the president of the Deanwood Tennis Association, and you're the president of MITA for this section of which is a section of the ATA. What else do you do? Well, how did you come to tennis?
Well, I came to tennis as an adult. Some players start out like your daughter is going to start out, as a youngster in tennis. But I didn't start playing tennis until the 1980s. And so I came to tennis as an adult. And I came into town and had my little wooden Kramer racket. And that's how I started with Deanwood.
Mm-hmm. And you never played it as a young child? You didn't see it growing up. Were you into sports as growing up?
I was a cheerleader. That's as close as I came to sports, okay?
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
So I was a cheerleader in high school and a cheerleader in college.
Okay. And what school did you go to?
I went to Dudley High School in Greensboro, North Carolina, and then went to North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro. So I'm an Aggie.
Oh, you're an Aggie. Okay.
Yes.
We know I have a couple friends that went there.
So you was looking for exercise or, to be around, what's it, fellowship?
Companionship.
Extracurricular activities, and I love to dance. And so you've got a lot of dance movements in cheering.
Oh, okay. I'm
And
talking about
so
tennis.
I
Are you talking about tennis or you
And
talking
see,
about cheerleading?
cheerleading, the skirts they wear as cheerleaders ain't far from the skirts y'all wear on the tennis court. So, fashion-wise, it makes sense to make the move. See what I'm talking about? You know what I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fashion-wise, it makes sense. It was just a natural progression.
It was a natural progression,
Yeah,
okay?
Natural progression. Okay, so let's talk about more about the 100th anniversary. Like, what other activity are there activities going on here in the DMV area that people can get involved in, can see, can just get it, if they want to know about it? Like, what can we do?
Well, one of the things we're really trying to promote is to increase our membership. So we like to invite everyone to become a member of the American Tennis Association. We're trying to raise the number of our members. So you can go to www.americantennisassociation.org and click on the member button and become a member. One of the ways also that you can participate is to support some of the local ATA affiliated clubs, and we have a number of them in this area. The Mid-Eastern Tennis Association has clubs like Deanwood, like Tennis at Shiloh, clubs like Activated Super Seniors, and this is an organization which is the largest in our area. It is composed of seniors, and there are more than 80 members. And they have a number of different programs. If you want lessons, you just simply need to contact one of the local groups and come on out and have some fun.
Now, are there a lot of public tennis courts in DC that people can go to and play? Like, they don't need reservations or anything to.
Plenty.
Right, and remember now, this is called the gentleman's sport, the gentle person's sport.
Yes.
So sure, there are tennis courts, many tennis courts around the DC, Virginia, Maryland area, and the general rule is you're only going to be out there for about an hour. And then you're expected to, relinquish the court to someone who's standing outside, anticipating, waiting to get in. So
they got next. I got next.
Yes.
Every park has a tennis court, Veronica. Every park.
Okay, well, thank you. You've been to every park?
Every park I've been to had a tennis court.
But you haven't been to every park.
Yeah. Miss Sloan.
Yes. And at Deanwood, we have done many activities with the Deanwood Recreation Center, which is right there at 49th and Quarles, which is where our 3 home courts were located for Deanwood.
Well, let me ask you, before we, wrap up, what is the state of the state of the courts or state of repair? What is the state of repair, or how the
condition?
Courts, what are the condition of the courts?
I think the courts in D.C. are in very good condition. You'll find that there are a lot of repairs that have been made. Fort Lincoln is where the Mideastern Tennis Association will have its spring fling.
That's near us.
And Fort Lincoln has newly refurbished courts, and we will have a tennis season opener. We call it Spring Fling, and all you have to do is show up with a racket. It's free to everybody. And we're going to start out with one of the USTA programs, which is called 10 and Under Tennis. We'll have a program for young people who are 10 and under. So bring your daughter out.
I was about to say.
Yes.
Get her a little racket.
There is no requirement for being able to know how to play, and that's part of the interest in the 10 and Under program. It helps to get young people started in tennis. It's a lot of fun, quick action, a lot of quick reward, and so you want to, I'm going to look for your daughter.
And that's a great way to end that segment, and we're going to move into the next segment called What's Veronica Thinking? And what am I thinking about today? Well, a lot of things. But today I'm mostly thinking about that, you have to know your history, because I like to consider myself a pretty, well-read, astute person. I like to know my history, whether it's basketball, track. I like to get my hands into all the different types of sports that are out there. However, I did not know, or I was ignorant of, the American Tennis Association. And so it's important to know the history, because without the American Tennis Association, we would not have Serena Williams, whom we all revere as a very good player. She's phenomenal, the things that she has done, but she has came along on the backs of the Althea Gibsons, the Zena Garrisons, even the Arthur Ashes.
Yes.
And they got their start from the American Tennis Association.
Yes.
So, and again, knowing the history, knowing where you've come from will allow you to go ahead into the future and to help others, and to realize that, we didn't do it all by ourselves. Someone had to help us. Someone had to give us a push. So learn your history, and whatever it is you do, know where you come from, know the beginnings of it, because it'll help you in the future and to make you a much better person, a much more well-rounded, a much more humble person in the future. What do you add, Gregory?
Everybody thinks about basketball, thinks about football, and then you throw track in there, but tennis needs to be higher on people's list when they're looking for activities to get young ones involved in too. Team sports is great, but I like those individual sports like tennis that affords a great opportunity for kids. You get the same thing you get in other sports, the exercise, the discipline, and but you get a little more focus on yourself because it's an individual sport. I like that.
So working on that self-esteem.
And I like I said, I'm starting my tennis career next April 16th.
Why April 16th?
And I'll be a pro in 2 years.
Why you say April 16th?
That's when the
Spring fling.
The spring fling starts.
Oh, so you'll be in the Masters.
Yeah. 2
All
years
right.
after.
So look for Gregory in the Masters. He'll be starting April 16th, Fort Lincoln at the Spring Fling. I myself will not be at tennis, but I will be reporting from the sidelines for the Veronica Harris Show. So once again, we would like to thank our guest, Miss Cheryl Sloan. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very much for the opportunity.
A lot of fun.
We have enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it.
We want all our viewers to remember about the American Tennis Association. Check it out. Go to www.americantennisassociation.org. Remember, what was Veronica thinking? Know your history so it can help you out in your future. And we thank you all for watching us here today. And we'll see you again next time.